Hi, and welcome to August and the Other World podcast. Hi, Fee.
Hi.
I'm going to start off this week and this month. I'm going to start off with the cards. I pulled one for the month and then I pulled one for the first week of August. And it was pretty interesting what I chose. My first one was Althea, and that is truth. So this is the card of the month, which is so beautifully synchronistic with what we've been speaking about, Fee. And actually, I want to read from this Wild Unknown Archetypes deck by Kim Krantz, because I think there's a couple of things that she says in both these cards, which I couldn't say better myself. So truth, when we hear someone speak their truth, we see the truth within ourselves and are more likely to tell our own story. This card requires us to step towards an act of truth. And I think the word act there is an interesting one. Sitting within our truth is one thing, and then acting upon it is another. There's on the 1st of August, I just wanted to talk to this month a little bit before I got to the second card. And also this card, and the other card that I chose is out of the initiations in the deck. And if you could liken it to a deck of tarot, it would be a major arcana. So both cards I chose for August were part of that initiation part. And they're major cards. They're big changes, big transformational cards. So just knowing that kind of sets a theme for August. Before I go into the nodes, actually, I wanted to give my theme for the month. And my theme comes in a saying, and that is, make your weird light shine so other weirdos can find you. There seems to be a very weird and wonderfulness about August, and I can feel the power of Uranus behind that. There's a lot of squares to Uranus, and that weirdo part is very, very Uranian. Right, so that's just the month of August, but there's a few things as we go into August that I want to speak to. We've got the Leo new moon on the 8th, which is this beautiful Lion's Gate opening. I love the alignment with the new moon in Leo at the time that we have this opening, this Lion Gate portal. It's the Lion Gate portal I know you're going to speak to as well, Fee. I'm not going to get into what that might bring or open to. I'll just probably talk about it from a more an astrological point of view, which is an alignment with the sun and Sirius. And Sirius is known as the spiritual sun, where we have our sun in our solar system. Sirius is twice the size of our sun. And at this time of the year, it aligns with our sun. And for many thousands of years, across many cultures, this moment, I don't know that they called it the Lion's Gate portal, they may have, but this particular moment has been seen and recognized across many different cultures, including the Aboriginals and including the Egyptians. So there's an alignment with the pyramids. Those pyramids are 4,000 years old, but there's an alignment with the Orion's belt and Sirius and the sun that opens this, is said to open this portal. So it's something that's been around for a very long time. It's not new agey. It's actually very, very ancient. So that is on the 8th, although it culminates on the 8th, as you said last week, we were in that energy. And I love, again, that starts with the new moon aligning in Leo. And I then get to the full moon, which happens on the 22nd, 23rd, depending on where you are, in Aquarius. This is our second Aquarian full moon, which is quite unusual in itself. Last month we had an Aquarian full moon, and this is the second one. And that aligns with the day that the sun enters Virgo. So the sun is currently in Leo and will be moving into Virgo. There's this beautiful alignment between the moon and what's going on energetically with the Leo, Virgo, and the Lionsgate portal opening and closing. So Virgo is a very practical sign. It's about our bodies and health. It's also about the way that we do our day-to-day living, how we serve. So that's the sun's coming out of that really beautiful kind of creative energy of Leo and fire, and we'll be moving into the earth-based sign of Virgo and that service, body, movement, doing kind of energy. And then around about that same time, actually, around about that kind of 22nd, 23rd, there's a few different things that happen then. Obviously, the sun and moon are in opposition because it's a full moon. And then we also have a conjunction between Mercury and Mars. And at the time, over a couple of days period, we have Mars and Mercury trining Uranus. Trining Uranus. That's a beautiful conjunction. It kind of is when one supports the other. So like I was saying before, if you can think of Uranus as that weird and wonderful kind of character of ourselves, you've got Mercury, which is the planet of communication, and Mars, which is this doing, almost can be kind of an aggressive, but a getting out there type of an energy, conjuncting with that weird and wonderful place. So it'll be an interesting time to see how we're showing up around about that time of the month. Right. So then I'll get to my second card that I picked for more this week, because it is a big week from the 1st until the 8th, the Lionsgate portal, and I chose Gnosis. And this card is innermost knowing and mystical truths. So we've pretty much got another layer of truth on the month of truth. And this is, and I'm going to again speak from the deck because I think it is beautiful and worded so beautifully. This is deep and timeless archetypal wisdom. Those called to Gnosis, knowing is their calling and not knowing is their job description. The eternal mystery is calling you. I just thought that's such a beautiful job description. Knowing is their calling and not knowing is their job description. And if I think about that in terms of astrology, it really speaks to Sagittarius for me. I have my moon in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is that place of higher knowing or a higher knowledge. And so I wanted to know, okay, what else is going on with the Sagittarius, maybe Gemini axis on the wheel? And that's where our nodes are sitting right now. The North and South node are sitting in Sag and Gemini, North in Gemini, South in Sagittarius. And it just so happens that today they're at 8 degrees of those two, which I just thought was just, this 8 number is huge this week, because the 8th of the 8th is the Lionsgate, and sitting at 8 degrees right now is the two nodes, which is just perfect. The South node is actually conjunct Juno, and Juno is the goddess of traditional partnership and marriage. So I'll just bring that piece into it. And at the same time, the Sun and Mercury are conjunct at 8 degrees of Leo. So there's lots going on at that 8-degree point. So with that North and South node axis, I guess that there's something going on that South node axis in Sag that's asking us to examine where we might be hiding our truth. And when I say truth, I mean our deep knowing of who we are. maybe not so much hiding it, but bringing it out and showing our weird and wonderful ways to the world. On the 3rd of August, Venus and Medusa conjunct, which I just love, because that's just like, it's this offering to bring love to all the places inside where we hide who we really are, where we put masks up to protect us from maybe ridicule or maybe not belonging. It's maybe where we don't let others see who we are. And this is an opportunity to heal these parts and to really allow them to come out and to show all of those weird and wonderful places of self. There's so many parts that are really showing up the same area, Fee, which I love it when it all happens that way. It's just all around really embracing the differences of us to others, and knowing that that's why we're here. You know, there's a feeling of needing to be the same in order to belong. Is that true? Is that your truth? I know that again, I'll speak from my point of view. I had an opportunity this week to speak some truth in my family group, and it wasn't particularly well received. And it's like, well, that's a part of me now that is the way it is. Whether it's received or not isn't the point, which we spoke to about with that Mel in our truth call this week. It's more sitting and speaking your truth that matters. Once it's out there, how it's received is none of your business. Now, this brings to light another thing that came up for me this week. And that was, I was watching something on my computer, and it brought up a book written by Ross Coulthart. And he's a journalist, an award-winning Australian journalist. I'm not sure if I pronounce his name right, but I'm pretty sure that any Australian would know his face if you saw him. He has just released a book called In Plain Sight. And it is basically his investigation into UFOs. And the interesting thing about UFOs, I knew this happened last year. In 2020, the Pentagon released their UFO files. And I remember at the time a lot of people saying, it's kind of interesting that this has happened in the year that there's so much other news, that this is almost flying under the radar. Such a perfect word for UFOs, flying under the radar. But they released them. So I really found it interesting that it was this week, during this time of this portal to the heavens, the universe, Sirius, that this book's been released. And I was listening to him speaking about it, and he was basically talking about this. Why is it that there hasn't been more news around this? And there's been such a cover up, and people have been seen to be so weird to think that there could be any truth in this, that a lot of journalists just will not touch the story because it instantly puts their reputation at risk. And well, pretty much he's looked into it. He's been interviewing a lot of the people that were inside that have complete, direct links to the information. And the Pentagon has said that UFOs are real, that since 2004, in the 144 cases that they've investigated, 143 they couldn't explain. And this has been going on for a long time, that there are definitely occurrences of things in our airspace that they can't explain. They move in a way that exceeds anything that we're capable of with human science. And that they've been here long enough now that if they had a benevolent nature, well, they could have got rid of us a long time ago, because that's how extreme that their technology is. So there's just this awareness of them and a watching of them. And the other interesting part of it is that the sightings seem to happen at places where we have all our kind of nuclear sites. So it's almost like they're really interested in what is going on around our army bases and nuclear sites, the things that have the ability to really wreak some havoc on this planet. That's where a lot of the focused activity is happening. And that's, I guess, why the US, the armies, the Pentagon are so interested, because that's where the activity is, which is where they are. I just find it so interesting that this is a story that's gone under the radar, and that there is this uncovering that's happened in the last year. But because of everything else happened, who's listening to this? Who's listening to the fact that the Pentagon has said that UFOs are real? I spoke to my partner about it, because I'm sitting there going, I know this, and the story just washed over him. And I just find that so interesting. Why isn't it this story that we're all going, oh my God, we're not alone in the universe? So it felt like the perfect time to bring up this other weird and wonderful phenomena that's going on in the planet, and that's very much real out there, and that seems to be not being seen or spoken about. It speaks to this week and this month, and I wonder what else. I know I've heard other astrologers say this could be the month that we get an absolute visitation. I don't know why, but I'm going there this month, this weird and wonderful place of aliens, which couldn't be more perfect for the portal, Lionsgate. That's me, Fee.
Wow. Well, what's beautiful about that is that you and I have had many conversations about many weird and wonderful things, and I don't think we've ever once had a conversation about that topic. So it was kind of really interesting when you started going there, and I thought, wow, I haven't had that conversation with you yet. So I kind of feel that there might be a podcast in there somewhere, and it might be something that we should explore a little bit more deeply, and maybe bring that probably into that truth series that we're working with at the moment. Would be really good to open up some conversations around that. But yes, I'd definitely like to dive into that a little bit more, and it's given me I guess food for thought to work with over this weird month of August that we're moving into now. There was a lot in there, going back past that, there was a lot in there I feel that aligns with what I'm going to bring through today as well. So I'll dive into that now, and then maybe we can have a little discussion at the end. So just looking, I think, first of all, at the numerology for this week, we're currently sitting in the 31st week of this year of 2021. So this makes this a 4 week. So we're really working with the energies of, or the archetypes of 3, 1, and 4 this week. And I'm focusing much more, I don't know why, Deni, but when usually we look at the month ahead, and this is the ideal opportunity because we're starting the month with this podcast at the energy for the month, and for some reason I just went straight into this coming week. So I feel like this is going to be more of a week by week process for me this month, and that sometimes happens, I think, when there's a lot of energies coming in and it's shifting quite a lot between different energies. So I'm just going to focus first of all on this first week of August. So if we break down those archetypes of the 3, 1, and 4, 3 is more commonly associated with communication, but it also represents, and the thing that I was really feeling into this week, things that are related to image and appearance. And so as we're also working with the 1 energy, the 3 and 1 energy this week, and 1 is all about self, you may find that your awareness is drawn to focus on your outer appearance and how you actually present yourself to other people. What is the first impression that other people receive from you visually? It's all about being seen, as you said, Deni. How are we being seen this week? Or where you may even be hiding and not being seen at all. So where, you know, you may not feel able to be seen in some way. So maybe there is an invitation, I think, with this energy to look at whether you are feeling safe in being seen in your truth. Or do you have a tendency to cast glamours and only let people see what you want them to see? So only show up in a certain way, not in your full truth. So I think those are themes that are really going to be surfacing this week, particularly. And the strong influences of 4 in the energies of this week are related also to identity. So this energy brings you into the awareness of your sense of belonging. And again, I think this is an invitation to dive deep within and really look at what brings, you know, what that brings up for you at a personal level. Whether you hold a strong sense of self, if you have indeed found your tribe at this point in your life, or your place in society, or if you're even really connected to your own birth story, which is really where we gain our sense of identity in the very beginning. And then you may notice how that influences you this week, particularly as we transition towards the end of the week. But, you know, if you're still seeking your sense of self, or if you're feeling kind of insecure, or you've yet to find that group of people that really accept you in your truth, then you're likely to be drawn, I would say, into experiences this week that bring healing to that level of awareness for you this week. So just look out for that. 4 is the energy that's very foundational. It helps you to create new, strong foundations which really help you to grow and expand within yourself. So that energy really brings in, I guess, self-discipline, perseverance, determination. Those are all 4 energies that really help you push through limitations or blocks or resistance that may be surfacing to looking at yourself and how you show up in the world. So a lot this week, I feel, on self-identity and guiding you into a place at looking, I guess, at the way that you show up in the world in a visual way. How other people see you. And I know personally, I'm really being pushed on this at the moment, and I'm being guided to show up a little more consciously, which of course I am resisting in a very big way, which I tend to do before I give in and surrender and then move forward. So I know there's something new unfolding. I haven't quite worked out what it is yet, but it feels very related to how I show up visually in the world. And that's pushing a lot of buttons for me at the moment and bringing up a lot of resistance, which is great. And I did also want to mention the Lionsgate portal that's related to the 8th of August on Sunday. And I love that you brought in that frame of reference for people to work with, that, you know, this is something that we have been celebrating in many different cultures and many different traditions for a very long time. So it's not a new agey thing, although it kind of feels like it sometimes, the way that it's spoken about. But I did talk about it a little bit last week, as you said, and around the opening of that portal, because it's not just related to the 8th of the 8th. But in numerology, 8 is a very powerful number, and it's often associated with success and abundance. So it holds also the energy of the infinity symbol, you know, the shape of it, which corresponds to limitless possibilities or potential. And so therefore 8 is always seen as this incredibly positive and powerful number that brings in really strong energies for us to work with. So the 8th of August is considered a high frequency time that is, I guess, charged with the energy of success. So 8 is all about really that big vision, that big plan that you have for your life. It's looking at that bigger picture. So the opening, I think, on the 8th of this month really supports you to look at that vision and then take action towards creating what you want to achieve in a really big way. And I'm not really a big picture person myself personally. I tend to look at that next step, but you know, I can certainly feel myself being pulled into that. Where do I want to go long term? What are my long-term plans? Those are things that are really rising for me this week to kind of pay attention to and look at within myself. So because 8 is also associated with money and finances, you may also find that if you've been experiencing money issues or lack of financial security, which incidentally is very much an 8 energy, it's also the other side of that 8 energy, then you may begin, I think, during this time, particularly this week, to find answers to what has been going on for you. What is your relationship with money? You'll find information that guides you into a healthier relationship with money to create more abundance in your life. So you can use that sort of energy that we're sitting in at the moment by going in and asking for some guidance around that to create healing around that area of your life. So 8 is about money and abundance, but it's also about lack of money, poverty, losing money for some reason. So when we're working with 8 energy, we've got to look at both sides of that as well. So I think the 8th of the 8th, that's really a day where you've got an opportunity to look at where you personally sit on the continuum between, let's say, financial abundance and poverty. You know, there'll be somewhere where you sit on that continuum. So where is your personal place within that continuum at this time? And then seek guidance during the Lionsgate portal to take action. What do you need to do, or what do you need to embody fully to move through that in the most powerful way for yourself? So I think that's one way that you can really work with that energy. But it's really good, I think, to also consider both sides of it and where you sit within that to help you move forward. And then the card that I chose this week was this beautiful card. It was the Earth Shaman. I don't know if you can see that, from the Dream Dust Shamanic Tarot deck. And I was kind of really excited to pull this card because it was an earth card, which is kind of my go-to place anyway. But also because I felt that it's really aligned to that 8 energy that I've just been talking about. You know, that card really speaks to the Earth Shaman, bringing the qualities of discipline, wisdom, power, and being a secure provider. So it shows great leadership that skillfully creates abundance. And so it really supports the energies of this week and how you can lead your way into abundance through following your intuition. A powerful leader, I think it's really a reminder that a powerful leader is inspired by intuition and then uses the structure and foundation of what is available to bring that vision into reality. There's so much support this week to help shift you into a more powerful place of abundance. And that card, I think, really represents that and holds that energy for you as a support throughout the week. And then finally, just my message from the Akasha this week was quite short and succinct, so I'm just going to read it as it was given to me. And that is that you are being supported in a powerful way this week. It is important, therefore, to remember that your external experience can only expand as far as your internal experience will allow. You always need to tend to the inner world first and then step out into the outer world. Let go of false expectations that are guided through ego, and focus on the reality of where your inner vibration sits at this time. Seek the next eternal expansion based on your current internal reality, and you will always embody an inner state of gratitude that will powerfully attract in your next new experience. So that was all that I had today to share with everyone. And I felt that it was really aligned to the beautiful messages that you brought through today as well, Deni.
Definitely. I also love that you brought in such a practical piece for the 8-8 energy and working with the Lionsgate portal, because, you know, when you look at how it's spoken about in all the writings and everything that's out there, it's so airy fairy, you know. I just don't relate to that, you know, this coming in this higher frequency, and it just doesn't cut it for me anymore. It's got to be a lot more down to earth. So that you also picked the Earth Shaman, to me, is just perfect. You know, there was probably a stage where I could get into that way of thinking a little bit more and open myself up, but now it's like, you know what, I'm an earthling. I need it to be very much a part of this world as well, even if it's quite out there of the topics that we speak about.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that, you know, we can get a little bit carried away. And I love that there's so much positivity out there around the Lionsgate portal. But, you know, there's other sides to the energy that we've always got to consider. And I think we've always got to feel into where we sit in our own experience at that time, and how we can use that energy in the most powerful way for us at that time, rather than this generalized idea of what it will do, you know, for us, or what it will create for us, which is often, sometimes, I believe, a false expectation of something. So we have to be more realistic about it.
Absolutely. I mean, they're just interesting times with what's coming to light as well. And, you know, I've been sitting here because today, as I look at all of these energies and pull the cards, I don't think about it before now. And that all this weird and wonderful kind of energy is around, or I can feel it now. I do ponder, how is that going to show up for me? Or how can I step into that in an even bigger way? Where am I hiding behind something? And it's quite confronting to think of that, because I like to think that I stand in my truth and I'm willing to be visible in all of that. But, you know, it offers a place of me sitting at, where do I try and fit in or belong, instead of standing even stronger in my truth.
Oh gosh, so much of that, I think, this week, and that's really what I've been feeling into for myself. And it is very confronting, because I feel, particularly at this time in life, that I'm very much standing in my truth. And it's like, what, really? Another layer of truth that I have to become really visual about. And that is a little bit, sitting with that one.
A place that comes to mind for me, Fee, was a conversation that I had where, because of my views, it was the statement came out that about science leading the way and everything else being witchcraft. And man, it just hit me. It's like, really? Is it just those two? Is it just science and witchcraft, or is there something else going on between in that area? And do I have to stand in this witchcraft area in order to bring a different point of view to science? No, it doesn't have to be one or the other. There can be a meeting of the two beautifully. And the fact that the word witchcraft was used with such kind of like, it speaks also of this place of the UFO, like to actually speak about, is there other people, you know, other things in the universe? And if you've spotted something, or, you know, you get lumped in this category of you don't know what you're talking about, or you're weird, or you've lost your marbles, and it's this part that I'm finding really interesting this week, why we completely throw all of that aside to make ourselves, I guess, feel like we belong. I think it comes down to that place of belonging and what we're willing to do in order to belong to maybe a group that isn't us.
Absolutely, so much in there. And yeah, I definitely feel that. And I love that. The invitation here really is to create a space for all of it, because that's where we work from our most powerful place, when we invite all of it in and then find our truth within that. And we don't have to be at this end or this end. We can be totally in the middle, in the awareness of it all, and the acceptance of it all. And interesting that, the witchcraft piece, it can still trigger that word that's said with so much negativity. And, and I feel like I'm in such a place of, I'm proud to be. If you call me a witch, yeah, I'm proud to own that. I don't feel like I'm a witch in the true sense of the word and how it's honored in our times now. But yes, I would love someone to call me that in some way.
Well, and looking as to why it is seen as a negative place, and
yes.
that came about of the witch trials, right?
Yeah.
Anything to do with anything that wasn't patriarchy was witch.
Yeah. and it's used in a derogatory way still. It's just like, why, really? Come on, get on board here.
Yeah, or have a look at where it really comes from. Look at the roots, look at history, actually look at the truth of a lot of words that we use in a negative way, that if we look back and we look into, in that Sagittarian higher mind way, and there's a deeper truth, and it's just to write them off as all weird is just not what these times are asking for.
No, and I just thought that is a podcast that we should bring in, is to look at some of the roots of these words and bring the truth in around that. I'd love to have some discussions around those. Let's do that.
Let's do that. Yeah. Shine a bit of light on some words that people just automatically see in one way, and maybe shining a light on some other ways. Yeah, I'd love that, Fee. Let's do that.
Absolutely. We'll keep everyone posted on that one.
we need an etymologist out there to come and join us on the podcast. So there's an invitation.
Please join us.
All right. Enjoy the first week of August, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, have a great week.